Okay. Hello, hello. We're recording in progress. My name is Glenda Carlin Bussick, but I go by my maiden name, Glenda Carlin, since my husband passed. But on Facebook, if you're looking for me, it's Glenda Carlin Bussick, B-U-S-I-C-K. And my YouTube channel, where I post these talks later for those that can't come live or want to view it later, is Glenda Carlin, A Course in Miracles YouTube. Real original. Glenda Carlin, A Course in Miracles YouTube. I haven't posted last week's talk yet, but I will. Yeah. So this is my weekly Zoom A Course in Miracles meeting, and it's December 20th, 2022, but I won't be having a course meeting March, for those that follow, mark your calendar, March 7th and March 14th. I'm doing a 6-day workshop with Lama Surya Das, a live in-person workshop, first one he's had since the pandemic in Garrison, New York. So that includes a Tuesday, and then the following Tuesday for a whole week, I'll be absorbing whatever truths Holy Spirit is sharing with me. But that's 2023, next March. But let's see, now this Sunday is Christmas Day, and then the following Sunday's New Year's Day. So of course, in the religious world, this could be a holy week, but in the Course of Miracles, every day, every week's a holy week, because we're holy sons of God, holy Christ, holy Buddhas. So first of all, I want to invite in Holy Spirit, Jesus, Buddha, enlightened beings, ascended masters. Help us be here. Help us gain insights. Guide me what to do or say. And also, first, just to have fun. Thank you. They'll never intrude. We always invite them in to help us. And then I also want to welcome in and acknowledge each of you for your true reality, your true identity. Now, the first thing Jesus does in the Course, and even Dzogchen Buddhism that the Lama Surya Das teaches, first thing you got to recognize is that you're holy and that you're a Christ, a holy Christ spirit, or a holy Buddha spirit. But ultimately, you'll realize there's only God. So we're really God because there's only God. We were created by him in his likeness, which is spirit and love and light. So that's why I acknowledge each one of you, holy. There's Leon, God, Gonzalo, God, Barbie, God, Alvaro, God, Nance, God, Angela, God, Danelle, God, Glenda, God. Because as you think of the other person, that's how you think of yourself. And I looked, online, there's a Course in Miracles online where you can search the textbook, workbook, all the manual clarification terms for phrases or words. And I spent at least 30 minutes. I was trying to find the sentence where Jesus says something like, everything you say, do, and think is about you, to you, for you, because there's only one mind. And then when I was doing that search, I found other things that I'll use in the weeks to come, but salvation comes only, from you, from each of you is your own salvation, because no one can do this for you. We're just here as I'm just here as a guide, trying to give you shortcuts to your awakening and everything. And then in Lesson 54, Part 1 in the workbook, Jesus says, everything I think or say or do teaches all the universe. Because there's only one mind, and that there's a conscious mind, but then there's an unconscious mind that you can't get to. So consciously, we practice the Course, the truths, and other parallel truths to remember what you are. Because last week we talked about the main part of the curriculum is to know thyself, because that's the problem. We've forgotten what we are, our identity, but we are spirit. We are spirit in the likeness of God, all knowing, all love and light. Christ spirit, Buddha spirit, one with everything. Everything's the same, whether it's a plant, an animal, an insect, fish, whatever. It's all the same. This light of God, this source light is radiating through each sentient being, and even every inanimate object is also light radiating through it. So that's what you become aware of. Now, tonight's talk is basically about awareness, because to know thyself, so, oh yeah, we'll say, oh, we're Christ or Buddha. But really what's happening, you have to be aware of that. It's awareness. And in the introduction, Jesus talks about we're removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. So your spirit is really symbolized by light and love, because spirit, it's free. It's just, and characteristics of it are light and love. But it's your awareness. So that's what you're changing, ordinary awareness. You're transcending or transmuting ordinary awareness to awakened awareness, where it's called like an observer or a watcher, where you're able to lean back. You kind of lean back from the egoic mind, small mind, and you're observing from this big, spacious, holy Christ Buddha mind. And I'll even talk about that. You put your awareness, your awareness, your watcher self behind your body, and put your body in among all these other images, because that's the movie screen. That's the projections we've done. We've projected things out here in front of us, when in reality, they're in our mind. We're mentally reviewing a dream in our mind. And in the last week, what's happened to me is, due to meditation, studying these truths, asking Holy Spirit for help, what's happened is I'm more able to rest, to lean back and rest, be held by source, be held by that clear, invisible, clear light of God, source. You just lean back and you just feel held or embraced by that source, energy, light. And then my focus, my awareness is in my mind. Oh, and what helped me was Holy Spirit had me think about, what's it like to be dreaming at night in bed? So I would sit in my chair and contemplate. In night, my eyes are closed, and when I wake up I realize I'm dreaming, then what's that like? My eyes are closed. I'm watching these images. So the mind is vast and continues to eternity. But for just this realization and thinking, I realized all the objects, all the projections are right here in front of the mind, or the third eye, that's seeing the dream, because my eyes are closed. I'm looking in my mind. And the Course says, Jesus says, we're mentally reviewing what's already gone by. And Gary Renard says in one of these books, one of the Ascended Masters says, what's a better description than that of a movie, where we're watching a movie that's already been filmed, the ending's already in the movie, and sometimes they'll film 2 or 3 conclusions to a movie. And depending on what they want to show, they'll put that one in there, or they'll even give you option 2 or 3 sometimes within a movie. If they'd made this choice, then here's how their life would have unfolded. You know what I'm saying? And so anyway, so that really helped me, because then I realized these thoughts and images are right here in my own mind. So then I opened my eyes up, and I would look at my awareness, my Christ self was looking at the images. but they were no longer projected way out in front of you. Just consider this some other, later you'll sit with this because it's really significant. That's the trick that the Course talks about, the trick or the sleight of hand that ego's done. It's taken these images that are really, we're looking at in our mind with our eyes closed, but they're projected out in front of us so they seem more real than the images when you dream at night. But then you sit with, oh, I'm just still right here in front of my mind. I'm mentally looking at this screen right here in front. These images are coming and going on this movie screen. It's very helpful because part of this talk here tonight is to have the wisdom of awareness and recognize you're dreaming, that we're dreaming, we're asleep, and we're ignorant of that fact. Now, why this came up was daily I'll look at these posts that Lama Surya Das does, because generally, like Barbie says, things he's posting is what I'm thinking about, I'm contemplating. Or Barbie will say, oh, what you're thinking, what you're talking about, I've been reading this lesson or thinking about. There's a synchronicity to all of this. But here was the post. Here were two posts that he made where he will either post what he's, I got to find him here, is what he's says, because he's written all these books, I don't know, 14 or 15 books. But here he quotes from these other enlightened beings. And this first one, a post, was December 16th. And it was from enlightened lineage. They call them lineage holders, all these truths that have been passed down through thousands of years when Jesus just has written our course and it was published in 76. So we're talking about these enlightened Tibetan Buddhist type people, their perspective on sleeping. So here's the deal. This is from Tulku Urgyen, Urgyen Rinpoche, 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 in case anybody wants to look up that person. Here's the quote. The Buddha sees that all sentient beings are dreaming. Now, that are dreaming. They are dreaming the 6 realms. We won't go into that, but they're dreaming the 4 places of rebirth. They're dreaming all their joys and sorrows. When we are on the Bodhisattva bhumis, we are just about to wake up from the dream. Only the fully enlightened Buddha is totally awakened. Now, what's important there is I keep reminding you, don't have premature immaculation thinking you're awake when you have a 1 or 2 light experiences. You'll have hundreds of them, possibly, maybe thousands, because this is an opening, a relaxing and a surrender to the higher source light, and it deepens. It only gets deeper in your awareness, in what you're aware of, your wisdom, how you see everything works and relates together. But anyway, Buddhists see that beings are ignorant. Sleep is only a subsidiary of ignorance. The real stupidity is not knowing our own awareness of wisdom. So see, I looked up ignorance and awareness, and I'm going to have some quotes from the Course. Buddhist training is all about first recognizing this basic nature. See, that's what we're talking about here. So you're first recognizing your nature, Christ nature, Buddha nature. Then next, training in the strength of recognition. So then you continue these practices of the Course and other parallel truths. You're strengthening your recognition of what you are, know thyself. And then finally, you attain complete stability in this realization of what you are and what your brothers are. That is the only way to awaken from this dream state. Now, that was that quote where he's talking about all Buddhists see that beings are ignorant. Sleep is only a subsidiary of ignorance. We're just ignorant. When we're waking up, we realize, oh, we're not those ego thoughts. We're not those attack thoughts or have grievances against our brothers or point out the errors of our brothers. We are spirit. We are Buddha. We are Christ. And they are too. They're God, really, and I'm God. The next post was the 17th that he did. And this one's from a gentleman, a holy one called JAMGON, KONGTRUL LODRO, THAYE. They have very long Oriental names. Here's this quote. Now, samsara is hell or suffering. Nirvana is heaven or peace in Buddhism. All of samsara and nirvana are your own mind. That's what Jesus teaches, same thing. Are in your own mind. That's what I'm wanting you to see. This is maybe a sentence here will help you get a sentence, these truths that Jesus keeps saying, but maybe it cuts straight in to your unconscious and it comes to the conscious mind and you go, oh, I got that now. I got that. Anyway, I'll go back. All of samsara and nirvana are your own mind. They don't arise from anything else in the slightest. Everything such as joy and suffering, good and bad, high and low, are the conceptual constructs of mind. And see, that's what I also teach is that in duality, well, first we got to get from thinking there's hell, that there is a heaven, nirvana, but then finally we'll recognize that's still duality because it's subject and object. There's a subject, us, seeing an object, love or peace or heaven. You still get to that, but then you get beyond love and hate, beyond samsara and nirvana, to only be aware of beingness. You're only aware of beingness, of this vast expanse, source, clear light that's here. And all these images are projections on the light, like this, our mind. The mind is the clear light screen, and we projected. So picture the clear light screen is right here, but on the screen that's right here, we projected these images, which they're saying they call them conceptual constructs of mind. If your mind is pure, you are Buddha. Wherever you reside is a pure realm. See, so even if you're in an area and things people are arguing, you're leaned back into your Christ Buddha nature, your God nature, and you're not a doormat. You may be guided to do or say or call 911, who knows? But you're doing it from your higher self, for the well-being, the highest good of everybody, what you're guided to do. But anyway, whenever you preside, wherever you preside is a pure realm. Whatever you do is from a state of the dharmata, DHARMATA. Now, what that means is, I had to Google that, ultimate unconditioned nature of reality, completely free from conceptualization. So that's another word for that we're making these images, conceptualizations, forms. Whatever appears is a jewel display of wisdom. So whatever, see what's happened, I found when I looked up, oh God, that the creative energy, you have, okay, here's about God. This is in chapter 7, paragraph 1, the last step. He meaning God. Okay, let's see. Oh, as God's creative thought proceeds from him to you, so must your creative thoughts proceed from you to your creations. Only in this way can all creative power extend outward. You have the power to add to the creation of the kingdom. To claim this power, you remember what you are. See, you're Christ, Buddha. Remember what you are. To create is to love. So then what happens? You're extending love to everything. That's why I say fake it while you make it. To all these politicians, that war in Ukraine, Putin, all that Korean leader, that Chinese leader that took over Tibet, Israel, Palestine, where there's war or seeming disagreements. When you picture these people, that's an image on your movie screen, but now you're awake, you're alert, you're partially awake, you're less insane. You go, oh, that's God. I love you, Putin. I love you. And you call him God, 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 the Korean guy, God, God. And see, every day when I meditate with the LA Dzogchen group, after I'm done with each tile, call them as God and beam and light to each person. And I'll think of all of you and do the same thing in my mind. I see your face and I call you God, and I focus light on you, on your head and your heart. Anyway, I do Putin that way. I do, and then focus light in the Ukraine and Russia, because you are the light of the world. And that light is what we are, and is also love. So we say love to the things that we might think we dislike, but that's ego, that's disliking something. So our creations really are all these images that are laying out here. Now there's the collective ego that's making up that war, because we are peaceful. We're not making up that war, but that's the collective unconscious mind that does it. But whatever's in your immediate realm of that's your karma. That's your karma and the other person's karma. Now, the thing is, I realized I got enough of my own karma to take care of. I don't want to take on somebody else's. So then I'm careful when somebody else is discussing something, or if there's a disagreement. Like if I have a disagreement with my sister, she wants to comment about something. I just take a deep breath and I settle back, let her say and do whatever she wants. But if I start in my mind, disagreeing, somewhere I found it's because you make it real. You made it real when you think about it. Like I found it exactly is, there it is. Chapter 9, section 3, paragraph 6, sentence 7. To perceive errors in anyone, comma, to react to them as if they were real is to make them real to you. Now, so then how we know is we're irritated with what somebody says. What's happening, we're having that, ego's having that knee-jerk reaction to them, and it's just automatic. But when we have this awakened awareness where we're aware of our feelings or our mood or something I'm going to say, if I say something that's perceiving errors in anyone, I mean, I perceive it. I got to have the error in me to perceive it in somebody else. But you get the point, is that our creations is all of, is what you see out there, these universes. Now, granted, they have with over time, when the Garden of Eden, when the Son of God believed he was a form and not a spirit, then duality started, the separation of the masculine, feminine forces in conflict. The yin and the yang are in conflict. And those forces then show up in this outside world. But I found in the course today, and I want to repeat this about the Garden of Eden. It was so great. When I read this, I went, wow, this is what's happened is, I want the Garden of Eden. I'm kind of going with the flow here because well, yeah, I'm on Garden of Eden. I made it on the top. There's 6 or 7 handwritten pages. And here. Okay. Now, so picture the Holy Son of God. We in our mind can create anything. And we created the Garden of Eden, and it was all love, all spirit, beautiful. It was just flowing, spirit, life, love. It was all flowing until we had a judgment thought. But here's what Jesus in the Course only does it in 2 places. He calls the pre-separation condition and the others post-separation. Here's the pre-separation. The Garden of Eden, or the pre-separation condition. Now, pre means before ego. We thought we were a body, a form. the Garden of Eden, or the pre-separation condition, was a state of a mind, a state of mind. I left the D off, in which nothing was needed. Nothing was needed. It was whole, pure, and innocent. Everything just flowing. We're having fun with the trees, the grass, whatever the stuff, the animals, everything's one. It's just all one. But then, and here's where, that's in chapter 2, section 1, paragraph 3. Oh, then there's 3 things. Then in chapter 3, paragraph 1 or 13, maybe 13, sentence 9. God does not believe in retribution or errors. The belief that God rejected Adam and forced him out of the Garden of Eden, see, that's an error. That's not true. Does not believe in retribution. Didn't throw him out of the Garden of Eden. Everything was, it was only in his mind. Only in his mind, he had the thought, oh, I'm a body. And then what happened then when he had that thought he was a body, this great ray light was cut off by him, not by God, where he couldn't feel the light, the life force coming in and going out of him, which contains love and spirit, couldn't feel it anymore. And within that life force was these masculine and feminine energies within the form. It just was just the way it was, this life force. This life force contained everything that allowed movement of the forms, this breath of life. But when the great rays cut off, then the 2 energies within the form are at conflict and duality started. And so in post-separation, the ego is the questioning aspect of the post-separation self, which was made rather than created. See, we made it up. It's all fiction, all a lie, we made it up. The only reason I'm bringing that up is whatever is this, all this universe is divine, because we're divine and there's a divine light that's running through everything, but the beings are not aware of it. But you're awakening to that, and that's how you want to think. But it's hard to think that way all the time. That's why I call it fake it while you make it, and why you might journal or recognize and journal certain people or events or politicians that cause you to be irritated. Journal about them and practice about thinking of them as practicing Jesus and advance forgiveness on them, so you can remember what you are, to know yourself. Hope that's so both Buddhism and the Course talks about we're asleep. And we're ignorant of what we really are. So then I searched the Course for awareness, because I want to talk to you about awareness. And awareness, I didn't get that for the longest time. I want page 1. Where are you? Page 1. Page 1. Okay, here's what Jesus says in chapter 6, section 5, C.8. He says, it is only your awareness that needs protection, since being, B-E-I-N-G, cannot be assailed. Yet a real sense of being cannot be yours while you are doubtful of what you are. And so then, see, your beingness, meaning this natural state of love, peace, bliss, joy, which is exemplified by this a vast, clear light, a vast expanse where there's just an extension of your light through eternity. It just goes on and on. The light extends. We're not confined in this skin, in this little box, but your beingness just is. But it's the awareness that we develop, that we're aware of that vast light. And you become aware of that vast clear light by practicing this advanced forgiveness, turning your day over to Holy Spirit, and meditating on the main ways, because then you get a gap between thoughts where you're aware there's a gap, a sacred pause between all these thoughts going on in your mind and all these images on the screen. And then you get a feel for this spirit that's not definable, but can be felt or experienced. Your awareness, you all know what I'm talking about. Does anybody have a question that could help me explain awareness better? You know what I'm talking about. Put your awareness behind your body and see if you can see the back of your head. I mean, that's awareness. That is an ability most people don't have. They're just stuck so in the mind, they're just listening to the chatter and reacting. But you're developing this ability to pause and be aware of what you're seeing, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. It's huge. I'm telling you, this is huge. So when you realize you're irritated about something, that's huge. And you can change your mind, because it is the power of the mind that also I want to direct your mind, is what Jesus calls it. I want to read this sentence so that it doesn't, here it is. Really, see, what you're learning is to direct your mind. And I hadn't really, it's been here, but I hadn't read it really this way. It's in what? It's in this page 3 and 4. This is in section 7. No, chapter 7, section 6, paragraph 2. Here's this. Now, the mind that accepts attack cannot love. So see, you're becoming aware when you're having some thought of not liking something. That is because it believes it can destroy love. And I didn't even realize when I was thinking I don't like something, what I was really doing was attacking my brother. But now I get it, because but then I'm not loving him. I'm pointing out his errors. Now, it doesn't mean we're doormats, but I'm talking about when we really get into the crux of not liking something and we don't get perspective and be able to lean back and recognize, oh, I can not want to do something, but I don't have to attack my brother, Okay, that is because it believes it and the mind can destroy love, and therefore does not understand what love is. If it does not understand what love is, it cannot perceive itself as loving. First, you just have to accept your love, and then that you naturally want to be empathetic and have compassion for your brothers. And over time, you develop this love and actually saying, I love you to the things you hate. It might take 100 times or 400 times on a person or an event till you finally might feel some love for the person and remember what they are. This loses when we attack, we lose the awareness of being, induces feelings of unreality, and results in utter confusion. We become confused. We don't remember what we are. We feel upset. We might feel anxious, depressed, worried. All kinds of feelings occur. Your thinking has done this because of its power. But your thinking can also save you from this because its power is not of your making. Your ability to direct your thinking as you choose is part of the power. So if this whole talk tonight, just remember the ability for you to direct your mind, to take damn charge of your thoughts. Like, I'm not thinking that way. Look at there, I had that thought, I had that feeling, I could choose again. I think that's in chapter 31. That is huge. Oh, then Jesus goes on to say in that same section, you cannot be vigilant for anything but God and his kingdom. The only reason you may find this hard to accept is because you still think there's something else. Because see, that's our culture. We think there's a power greater than God that can allow, that is all this other chaos. But only in a dream can there be anything more powerful than God. That's another one, big one to write down. Only in a dream could there be anything that could be more powerful than God. Not so. God is omniscient, all powerful, everything. God is everything. The search for truth is but the honest searching out of everything that interferes with truth. So this whole Course in Miracles teaches you to sort true from false. And then be able to just take a deep breath in, and on the exhale saying ah, A-H, ah, just relax. Take another one of those deep breaths in from 2 inches below your navel. Exhale saying ah, letting the ah go, A, ah. Every time you do that, that ah, whatever thoughts you were thinking, they get released. They're gone. You have just released them. And the A-H, that ah sound is A-H is a seed syllable that contains the response to God. That is your response to God's call to you. And I've experienced where AH actually took on a power of its own and came back to me. Now, I'll explain this. See, this Lama Surya Das, when we're meditating, he'll say, now, oh, let's do it. Let's do this. This is pretty powerful. I'm going to have you take a deep breath in, and then we're going to say ah in many different ways. And then we'll just practice here. So take a deep breath in from 2 inches below your navel. And then exhale saying ah, ah, but wallow your mouth around and say it all kinds of ways, like ah, 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 ah. Nobody can hear you, nobody sees you, everything's fine, you just do it. And now I want you to take another deep breath in, and we're going to do that again. Deep breath in. Then on the exhale, say ah, 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 just all kinds of pitches, all kinds of ways. No, it just let her rip. It just this is your total release. This is a surrender to what you are, your total spirit. Now take a deep breath in again, deep breath in. And then on the exhale, ah, do it again. Ah, ah. Oh, you guys aren't doing it. Come on now, you got to do it. Ah, 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 ah. I'm not kidding. You got, honest, this is huge. Ah, 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 ah. I know it's pretty embarrassing in a way, but now on this last breath, I want you to really mean it. I want you to take that breath in and then really mean that ah. So in breath, and then on the out breath, let her really go. Ah, 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 ah. Well, what I want to say is, when he did that one time, I was doing that wallering ah around. The ah took off on its own and was going in a high-pitched sound. And it went on and on and on. Only reason it stopped was because Lama Surya said, oh, now we're done with that activity. We're going to do this. Now that's freaky, right? That was wild. That is the call of God. That is the call of the higher living source to you. It's quiet, silent, because you haven't heard it yet, but it's there. And in the Course, it's called the call and response. And I never knew it was true, but it's true. The higher power is calling you home all the time, but you don't hear it. So now the AH is a seed syllable, meaning everything, everything. And Dzogchen, this high Buddha, is the highest Buddhist teaching there is. Just like in Christianity, there's all these religions, but in Buddhism and Tibet and all that stuff, Dzogchen is the highest teaching. And if you look at their symbol, it's a round circle, and in the middle is the ah written in Sanskrit, the ah. And from the white ah comes, there's a blue expanse. That's the expanse of spirit. And then there's colors around the perimeter of this sphere that represent the colors from the clear light of God. That are kind of almost not all the rainbow colors, but that's how powerful this AH is. The AH, for me, I know this sounds weird, But the breath of life that the Son of God breathed into the Garden of Eden images was the ah sound, the ah breath that gave it this life force spirit. But we have forgotten that life force. And this is a sound that can bring connection to you and a feeling of oneness if you want to choose to practice it. Just fake it while you make it. That could cut years off your work. I am not kidding. If I had known to do this 5-10 years ago, I know it sounds far out or pretty crazy, but has what we've been doing working? Probably a lot of it is working, but now I want to read about awakening. Awareness. 746. Okay. Where I copied these things from the course. Okay. Miracles reawaken the awareness that the spirit, not the body, is the altar of truth. Now, see, it's the awareness. Reawaken the awareness that the spirit, not the body, is the truth. So your awareness will be awakened to remember, and you'll think, oh, I'm not this body, I'm spirit. But you never, ever put your body in harm's way. There's a spirit is exemplified by this light that radiates out of you. It's there. Some of you feel it and all. The next one is, that's, I think, miracle number 20. And then in chapter 1, section 1, it says, this is a recognition that leads to the healing power of the miracle, the awareness that you're spirit, not a body. Then in miracle number 44, the miracle is an expression of an inner awareness of Christ and the acceptance of his atonement. So there's that word again, awareness. So just consider contemplating this. You're becoming aware, meaning you're the observer, the watcher. You're aware of what's going on and what you're thinking, saying, and feeling. And then you let go, and you just, in meditation, just rest in that vast stillness or space, and just try to be. You just kind of be there and catch your mind when you realize it's wandered off. Just bring your attention, bring your awareness back to the center alignment area and rest there again in that vast expanse until your mind wanders off again. And it will do that often. It'll do it all the time. But part of this, why we meditate, is to become master of our mind and be aware when it's wandered off, thinking these thoughts during meditation, and bring it back to the center. And what happens is you develop a gap, a big gap, a vast, it gets wider and wider and wider of the stillness between thoughts. And that's why then in meditation, your mind doesn't wander as much. But it doesn't matter that it wanders, because that's just the way it is. We're not repressing thoughts, feelings, or nothing. We're just aware of them, and we let them come and we let them go. For years before I learned this, I was trying to repress thoughts. That won't work. That won't work. That's a denial of the ego. Ego never stops talking, but we just become aware of it and let it come and go. And then you learn to hear the voice for God, because you'll even be directed to things to do in your everyday life. Like Gonzalo says, we're asking, what should I wear today? When should I leave my house, son? Well, you're asking for guidance. And when you feel confused, that's because there's two voices going on. So you just pause, and if you can, take a break, and then see what you feel like, what your intuition's kind of leading you to do. If you got to go leave the house, right? Or if you don't have to have a deadline, then just let that be for a little bit. And it'll come to you where you'll feel more at peace with it or less confused. And then you try whatever that thought was. And then if it doesn't go exactly like it's, you wanted it to go, you just adapt, let that go, ask for guidance, and you're just going with like the flow. You're developing a flow, a way of living by, you know what it is, being guided by Holy Spirit. But you're becoming aware of your thoughts and how you feel. And when you feel peaceful and happy or confused, you're aware of those. feelings and adapt and choose again. Now, I didn't know what the atonement was. See, Jesus says here, and the acceptance of the atonement. Now, then that's in chapter 6, section 2, paragraph 10. The full awareness of the atonement then is the recognition that the separation never occurred. Now, that's the true meaning of the atonement, that the separation never occurred. Of course, atonement can mean at one-ment. There's various things that course teachers say, and they're probably all okay. But this is Jesus's main deal. The full awareness, he hears that word awareness again, of the atonement, then is the recognition that the separation never occurred. This is on what that means. We're dreaming. We made this up. It's Jesus calls it a fantasy, a delusion, hallucination. These are words you sit with. It's just made up images. These are a mirage. I forget if he calls it a mirage, but that's like you're on the desert and out of all the water, and you start to see images. Or I remember when I was a kid, I had a high fever and I was laying on the couch home from school. And I remembered seeing in my mind, I had a huge thumb. It just was just huge. But I had a high, and I saw this huge thumb in my mind. And I realized now what that is. I had a high fever. Well, we've had a high fever and been in this high fevered state of hallucination of what we are, God is. And we can wake up from the dream and recognize all the images are Buddha, are Christ, are God, and they have this clear light moving through them. It's all going through them in spirit. But anyway, you get the point. But that's and the rest of that sentence that follows. The ego cannot prevail against this because it is an explicit statement that the ego never occurred. That's chapter 6, section 2, paragraph 10. Now, this is in chapter 1, section 3, paragraph 9. Since the miracle aims at restoring the awareness of reality. See, there's that word again, awareness, where you're aware means like, what's thinking these thoughts? What's doing this? Who can look out and me see Angela's image or Danelle's or Barbie's or Leon's or Gonzalo? How can I see that? I'm aware. There's an image. It's this awareness. It's weird word, isn't it? And it's not. So awareness can go from ordinary to awaken, meaning it is awakening to be aware of these your higher self, this spirit life, love, truths. You're developing this awareness. Since the miracle aims at restoring the awareness of reality, you're aware of your reality. I'm not a body, I'm spirit. I'm free. All right, let's see what else is. Awareness of the sonship's wholeness. Here's another one. It's only, okay, here. The wholeness of the kingdom does not depend on your perception. Wait, I missed it. Now you must be vigilant to hold its oneness in your mind. That means the wholeness of the sonship. Because if you let doubt enter, you will lose awareness of its wholeness. So now awareness is when you'll develop this ability where you don't see with two eyes, this Christ vision, the third eye. You look out and you're aware of this clear light that's permeating everything, that's going through everything, and that things are also projected on. But that is the wholeness. There's no break in this clear light. The forms, like each of our separate forms, looks like it breaks up the wholeness. But if you picture that form's not here on any of us, there's just this continuity of light, clear light, or spirit, or space, which is of God. And anyway, If you let doubt enter, you will lose awareness of its wholeness and will be unable to teach it. The wholeness of the kingdom does not depend on your perception, but your awareness of its wholeness does. It is only your awareness that needs protection. I've read that before to you, since being cannot be assailed. Yet in a real sense of being cannot be yours while you are doubtful of what you are. That is why vigilance is essential. Doubts about being must not enter your mind, or you cannot know what you are with certainty. Certainty is of God for you. Vigilance is not necessary for truth, but it is necessary against illusions. Chapter 6, section 5, C-8. So you're just developing awareness of your feelings, your mood, your thinking. And you know these thoughts. You're wise course students. Oh yeah, I'm not a body. I'm attacking that politician. I'm not thinking of him as Christ or Buddha. Help me, Holy Spirit. Anybody got a question or a thought? Because we're running here at the. So the three things it's boiling down to. You're right with you, Bobby. We're wanting to do. Become aware of our basic nature. That was in these Buddhist quotes. To become aware that these projected images that seem to be out there in front of your face at a distance even, they're not. They're right here in this mind. You're mentally watching this little movie screen. Like picture yourself in the movie theater with the screen right there in front of your chair. You're watching this movie and the projector's behind your head projecting a beam of light that's got these images in it, and they're projecting on that movie screen. You can't change the movie by going to the screen and cutting the screen up. You go back there to the projector and change the film. You change what the projector is showing. You're changing your mind. You're directing your mind. So that's the second. And then you're strengthening your recognition of this thinking. By you reaffirming this thinking, it starts and integrating it in your daily life. You stabilize this kind of thinking. That's what's happening. So you become aware of your nature, aware of your thoughts, that you're dreaming, and then strengthen that recognition. Okay, very good. Thank you all. Now we're going to, Barbie had a question or a comment. So thank you, Barbie. Oh, you're muted.
Okay,
There, I can hear
have
you.
two questions about the ego.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading in a book and it says everything is God.
Yep.
So then it says the ego is God also. Is that true?
No.
If everything is God,
No.
the ego has to be God.
No, ego is false. It doesn't exist. Mm-mm. It's a dream. Mm-mm. No, that's the whole Course of Miracles is ego's false and made up. Mm-mm. God is only spirit and love. Ego is not love, not spirit. Mm-mm.
And then I have another question from a sermon. It was from a sermon this Sunday. The priest says, we need the ego. Otherwise, we'd be a blob. The ego keeps us alive.
No, ego doesn't keep us alive. That's the breath of life of spirit, the living force. But I've heard an enlightened being asked about ego, how much ego do you really need? And this person said, just enough that you don't walk out in front of a car. Okay, just enough for that. And you're master of your own mind. The good questions, Barbie. No. So what does a dream mean, Barbie?
The dream, we're asleep in the dream. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, we've made up this force that seems to hate, attack, fear.
Crucify.
Yeah, vengeance, meanness. That's ego. That's a made up force. We're fell asleep, and the Bible even says nowhere in the Bible that Adam fell asleep, and nowhere in the Bible does it say he ever woke up. So, okay, but it's a very good question. Now, all the forms, was all the Garden of Eden until we believe we were a form and fell asleep. Spirit, love, and light was still flows, is still here, but it's covered, veiled by these clouds of obscurations, conceptualizations, the culture that you're a body, a woman, a man, you get it, a thought system. The whole course teaches there's two thought systems, ego and Holy Spirit. And Holy Spirit's the only one that's real. But you're waking up to realize that and learning to choose again based on what awareness. You're aware of how you're developing this awareness, how I feel, how I think, my mood, and choose again.
So I know the ego wants to kill us because we're getting closer to God. That's why the ego wants to kill us.
Yes, it goes from suspicion. This is the course quote. It goes from suspiciousness to viciousness and wants to kill you. Jesus says that. And yes, that's what it wants to do. That's why, even better, why you awaken, because then you're aware that you're not going to step out in front of a car. You're going to go and do your physical with the doctor. And while you're there, you're practicing forgiveness, remembering the nurse and doctors are spirit or vitamins or whatever, your meds or your chemotherapy if you have cancer. Because I forget which chapter, Jesus says the compromise is when you can take magic, which are the meds and the things. Because I teach down the middle of the road. I want to stay alive to awaken completely from the dream. If I ignore these physical things, then what the heck? Then if you're, it's a combination.
Yeah, because you got to keep your body healthy so you can finish to get to where you got to go.
Yes. So okay. Yes.
Okay, I went shopping today. I don't know if I was aware or if I forget. Or I don't know. I picked up a bunch of bananas. I put them in the cart. When I came home, I had no bananas, but I was at the store and I picked up the bananas. Was I seeing myself picking up the bananas and I visualized it? Or I don't know what happened, but I picked up a bunch of bananas.
Oh, and they weren't in your thing?
No, I had to check my receipt and they weren't there. But I swear I had the bananas in my hand. Could I have really visualized myself picking them up?
Well, now, when you saw them in your hand, I'm just going to go with this. Did you see yourself put them in your cart?
Yes, I put them in. They weren't.
I don't know, honey. The only thing I can think of is
because
they got put in somebody else's order.
Maybe that could be it. Because sometimes I could see myself on the computer and I could see myself reading the computer or doing whatever. I'm like outside myself, watching myself doing this.
Well, see, that could be clairvoyance. See, as we awaken, there's all the mind is all powerful. And because we are mentally reviewing everything that's gone by, all the different choices that have been made in all our lifetime. Like, for example, I talk about it. I leave the house. If I get a thought, I'm opening my car door and I have the thought, go back and do something. By golly, I go back and do something. But if I did not go back and do something, I would be off in a certain dimension of time and space versus going in the house. Then I'm out, leaving at a different time. Then there's less. I think it's guided by Holy Spirit, keep me out of an accident, because I've quoted this before about Gary Renard, where he asked, and it's worth repeating, Art and Persa, the Ascended Masters, why did I go see that horrible movie? It was a horrible, horrible movie. And they ended up saying to him, if you had not gone to that movie, you would have been in this horrific car accident and been hurt, very badly hurt. So there's no reason or rhyme for it. But the bottom line is, I think there's millions of choices that are in the pre-agreement, the pre-thing that's happened. And depending on your choice, but see, they're all laying there in the ethers, okay? So you could have picked up on a clairvoyant thought of having the bananas, right? Yeah. Or there's another thought that comes to me is, Maybe you're supposed to go back to the store to get bananas because you're going to run into somebody you need to practice advanced forgiveness on. Uh-huh.
Well, I have to go back to the store tomorrow because this weekend we're having a terrible winter storm. We
Get
might
ready
get 1
for
to 2 1 to 2 feet of snow.
Wow, bless your heart. Yeah, but picture that. There's a reason why those bananas aren't in your cart. You got to go, if you want them, you got to go back, right?
Well, maybe I go with your agreement. I probably put them in a different cart.
Well, or you clairvoyantly saw it. I'm not kidding, because that was part of the deal. And then now here, this brings up a point that I wanted to share, but I forgot now, is, this is talking about the flow, because what I'm wanting you all to be aware of, there's a flow, like what you're kind of talking about, Barbie, here, is as you live these truths, you embody the Christ, Buddha, God nature. And that spirit, that light uses your hands, your mouth, your ears, and you embody it. You embody it. And you're helping, guided what to do or say, etc. But there's a flow. Holy Spirit's bringing to you exactly what needs to happen to you for your highest good. And it's all grist for the mill, which means if it looks bad, only reason you still are guided what to do or say, you don't have to agree with it. You practice advanced forgiveness on them. I'll turn you back on here and just say, you don't have to invite these people to Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner, but you see them as God, Christ, Buddha. But here's the thing. So I'm very much trying to be aware, there's that word aware, of what shows up in front of my face, right? So you know how when there's credit cards, I have 2 main credit cards I use so I can get air miles, and I pay them off each month, right? No interest. But here's the thing. Once in a while, I'll get a letter saying, yeah, use that card for 3 years. You don't use it, we're going to, it's over, right? And I go, well, there's a chance I might want 0% interest sometime on some. And this was SunTrust or Truist. It became changed to Truist. And so they didn't care. I just had to use it. So I used it and bought $10 worth of something, right? And I knew I was going to go online, set up my checking account, and know how you do, and pay the $10. But I kind of waited for the day before it was due, right? And I went online, put my routing number, checking account number in there. And my bank name came up, paid the $10, and it showed I paid it. But later I got an email that said it didn't go through. With me, didn't go through. So the next day I called. Okay, so what the story is, look what happened here. I had a disjointed deals going on, right? It didn't go through. The payment of $10 didn't go through. So the next day, or after I got the email, I called SunTrust and I explained, and the lady looked. There in my account was the routing number, the checking account number. It showed I'd paid $10 and the balance was 0. Yet I got an email saying it didn't go through. And I said to her, well, will you put a note in there that I have called you? Because there's a late fee of $37. Wouldn't that be a weird deal? Now, what was neat was all along, I wasn't upset. I was just trying to solve and pay that $10, right? But when I looked at it later, I realized there was an outstanding judgment I had on SunTrust Bank. So Holy Spirit, which is now Truist, because that had been our business checking account for over 30 years in our business. And the only reason it came to me was because I couldn't get the $10 paid online. I went into the bank and paid the $10 cash. And then the person brought up the last time I'd been in the bank. And then it made me remember the last time I was in the bank was prior to when I sold my business. I was trying to get an equity loan, but I live in an unusual house. It's a round geodesic dome. And very seldom do banks want a loan on it. but they had said they would loan, the bank manager did, and the next level said they would loan, but the ultimate big boy said they wouldn't. So see, that was the judgment that of them not giving me that equity loan was still hanging, that I had not forgiven and saw as, not everything was in divine order, and their spirit never happened really. But see, now look what happened. That was Holy Spirit bringing something to me in a disjointed way for my highest good to go clear up this judgment that was laid in my unconscious mind. So you do not know what's coming, being brought to you in front of your face, and what these judgments were making. They're so knee-jerk, they go into the unconscious mind, and there's so many of them. What happens as you do your work, practicing advanced forgiveness on what shows up in front of your face, faking it while you make it. You don't believe these people are spirit, Christ or Buddha. You just keep, or God, you just keep saying it, keep thinking it silently and thinking. Then Holy Spirit will bring these unconscious judgments up for you to. So these images or things that show up in front of you, the bottom line is to practice and release them. See, we're purifying our mind of thoughts of judgment against our brothers. I went, wow, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Because, and I didn't fight it. Because see, I wasn't upset because I thought about, well, I could see Glenda, the Glenda ego years ago were like, what the hell? You guys can't take $10 out of my account that's right there. But no, I didn't do any of that. I mean, knock on wood. Well, anyway, any other thoughts or comments before I stopped the recording? That was great, Barbie.
Now, yeah, I got some, Glenda.
Yes, Gonzalo.
Yeah, thanks for all of that, because and again, Barbie, like with the bananas, and I was just thinking somebody passed by your cart and was really craving bananas, the quick one on you, and got the hell out of there, and a bunch of apes running around in your supermarket or something. But anyway, it's like that, like what you explained with the bank. There's just weird order to things that, as best we can when we practice, try not to make sense of it, because ego is going to wind us up. Why? No. Try not to make, just realize that divine order is always at work, always, as best we can. Try not to step into the black hole of trying to figure it out, because that's what we've done our whole lives, and it's made us miserable. Just keep asking for guidance and keep practicing listening to the voice that leads us in the direction of most peace, which takes a lot of work because we're so used to being impulsive and reactionary and being controlled by the ego voice. It takes a lot and untold amounts of practice to carve out space in our minds for the voice of truth. So just practice through, and as best we can, try to step out of the hole of trying to make sense of stuff, because we can't. And that line in today's email is wonderful in terms of how it summed up our obstacle that we're up against, which is doubt. The ego is designed, its sole purpose is to keep that guilt hidden out of awareness, keep it buried in our subconscious. When I started the course, when so many of us started the course, we were like, guilt, I'm not guilty. And we're so in the dark about how much unconscious guilt there is. And then the deeper you go with the practice, keyword practice, so much guilt starts coming to the surface. Like, what the hell is going on? What's wrong with me? Again, this is the ego's defenses to make us think that there's something wrong with us, to doubt. We doubt the Course in Miracles, doubt this practice, doubt this, just to doubt in general that we could ever approach being the perfect light of God, the perfect child of God. The whole job of the ego is to keep us in the dark and cover over our God-given truth. So doubt is the way that, or you can say unconscious guilt underneath it, is the way that it does that. So that kind of sums it up in a simple way. And well, we just practice through it. The way out is through. And when the doubt comes up, the fear, the guilt comes up, we just walk through it and realize it's a walk, not a sprint. And however it feels, And sometimes it's by allowing those feelings to come up, because like you said, we're so used to repressing our guilt and our shame and our unworthiness our entire lives. We think when the uncomfortable feelings come up, when we allow them, that again, there's something wrong. No, they're not. They've just been repressed our whole life. We've learned to repress, which is called coping in our world, called being a grown-up, being serious. We've learned to repress our feelings our whole life and stamp out our God-given child self our whole life. That it's going to feel uncomfortable as hell. We have to prepare for that. But again, the key thing, just practice. Just practice, as yucky as it will feel for a while. Just practice through and realizing that we're not doing this alone. We're never alone. We're doing this as the perfect child of God, as the perfect spirit of God. We're not trying to fix the person, fix Gonzalo and be a better Gonzalo. No, we're not trying to do that. The personal behaviors will start to reflect our God-given belief the deeper we go, but let's not try and change the personality. So other than just trying to practice listening to the voice of truth, and that'll take care of the basic kindness. We want to be kind and gentle, but again, the mere practice of learning to pause and be disciplined and training our minds to ask to be led through the day will soften our behaviors and the way we deal with things. And it's a process, but that's a great way to put it. The doubt part is kind of sums up what we're up against, because the ego's entire life is dependent upon us doubting that we could ever be innocent, perfect, spirit, eternal. That's the ego's fuel is guilt. So that's what we're working with. Just remember, it's a process. It's not a sprint, and that we will absolutely succeed as long as we practice sincerely. The Holy Spirit will get us through.
Way to go. Yeah, you're applying it. You're living it in your daily life. Thank you, Gonzalo. It's true. It's true. But see, that bank thing was coming up for me because I was not thinking of that bank manager as a holy son of God. That's the bottom line. That was a judgment that needed to be corrected. That's the bottom line. Whatever shows up in front of my face, what I watch on TV, practicing saying God, God, God to every one of them, then going on with my day. It's that simple. I don't have to believe it. Later, you'll believe it. Like right now, we can stop and say, what if you want to say Christ or Buddha or all of it or God to each person on the screen here. And then to yourself, say it. You are spirit, whole, pure, and innocent, always forgiven and released. Or wait, and to ourselves, we say, we're a mortal spirit. This body's a false image and has nothing to do with what we are. Or you just say all of it to each person here. See, that's it. It's that simple. That's beautiful. Any other comment or thought before I stop the recording? Thank you so much. Thank you, Leon, God. Thank you, Gonzalo, God. Thank you, Barbie, God. Thank you, Angela, God. Thank you, Danelle, God. Thank you, Nance, God. Thank you, Alvaro, God. Thank you, Glenda, God. Thank you for coming out tonight, each of you. I'm going to stop the recording and we can stop and hear and chat.